God is here, and I'm here for this. This is week 8 of this collection. This may be the longest we've ever been in a collection. I don't know. But when God says stay, we stay. When he says go, we go. And we went through the life of Joseph in the book of Genesis. We've closed out Genesis. We've jumped into Exodus. All right? Anyone want to get an Exodus out of their current situation? I don't know if you do or not. Maybe you love where you're at. But we've jumped into the book of Exodus. And now we're soon going to be turning over and looking at a new character in there. His name starts with an M, ends with an S. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. But for now, we're just in the in-between. Joseph has gone away, and the people of God are still flourishing and multiplying, and things are good at the moment, but they'll soon go from good to better to worse, which oftentimes is what we see in God's word. My title for this morning is this. It's simple. It's easy, and you're going to love it. And you're going to use it, and it's going to be a tool in your pocket all week long. What do you got in your pockets? I got a wrapper and a phone and a switchblade. You didn't see that coming. And I got right here my title. The title is this: God can do it. I told you it was going to be a tool for you all week long, because here's the good news. The good news is this: as you're coming up against anything that's happening this week, doesn't matter what it is, how bleak it seems, how difficult, how impossible, you can stand right there in the middle of your situation against whatever's coming for you, whatever it is, whatever's attacking you, trying to nip at your heel or knock down your knee or pull down your relationship, and you can say this: God can do it. Oh, well, that's hard. That's going to be difficult. I don't know. It's an uphill battle. God can do it. You can use it all week long on anything that can happen. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's easy, whether it's fun. God can do it. Because he can. He can do it. And the great thing is, he will and he does. And so let us remember this very simple phrase: God can do it. Say it. Whoa. There's power in it already. In 1 Chronicles chapter 16, I'm pretty sure it's 1 Chronicles. I said it was 1 Chronicles earlier. It could be 2 Chronicles. But it's one of the Chronicles, and it's chapter 16, verse 19. And I typed it out, and I put it on here. But because I typed it out, I didn't double check is it first or second. But you do your homework, find out is it first or second. It'd be good study for you. After that, go check the book of Hezekiah and read it. Okay, there's no book of Hezekiah, guys. All right, so just, keep on your toes. So in one of the Chronicles, first or second, chapter 16, verse 9, it says this: the eyes of the Lord move to and fro all the earth. To and fro, fro and to. One side to the other, up, down, all over, inside your house, under your bed. They move to and fro, and they are looking and hoping that the strong support of the Lord. How many know the mediocre support of the Lord is better than any strong support you can have from anyone else? But this is the strong support. This is the God can do it kind of support. The strong support from the Lord, looking and hoping that there might be one who is blameless before the Lord. Now, it doesn't mean you're without sin. It doesn't mean you didn't mess up this week. It doesn't mean you're perfect, you're unflawed. Doesn't mean that you don't have little baggies under your eyes. Take some little cucumbers, cut them up, just lay them right on there. Fixed overnight. Maybe, I don't really know. Either way, it'll be fun. It means that you've decided that your life is not your own, that it belongs to Christ. And when you decide that your life belongs to Christ, then he puts a seal on you, which is his righteousness, that now you are blameless as he sees you. So when he looks around and he's looking with the strong support of the Lord, his eyes going to and fro to say, who can be a one that can say, God can do it, and they can put their trust in me. All he's looking for is someone with this much faith that can say, I believe that God can work it out in my situation. I believe that he can save like he said he does. I believe that he can be as big as he says he is. I believe that if he can do miraculous works in his word, he can do miraculous works right here in front of me. His eyes are searching for one this week that will look in the face of opportunity. That's what I call it. You may call it hardship. You may call it bad luck. You may call it misfortune. I'm going to call it opportunity. That will look in the midst of opportunity and say, I agree, this does not look good, but God can do it. It says in his word in 1 John. Now, I know this is in 1 John. There's multiple Johns, but this is in the first one, okay? Chapter 5, verse 4. For everyone who has been born of God, anyone been born of God, overcomes the world. And this is the victory that has overcome the world. What is it? Our faith. We are saved by what? By faith. Through grace. Gotta have grace. Jesus gives grace, but it's through our faith that we receive grace. It's through our faith that we know grace. It's through our faith that we know peace. It's through our faith that we know resurrection power. Verse 5, it continues on in 1 John chapter 5. Now going to verse 5. And who is it that overcomes the world except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? I don't know how many different ways to give you the gospel this morning. That's at least 3 or 4 right there. This is the essence of what it's all about. But I want you to remember that in the gospel, in Jesus Christ, that you have the victory. So every single time you look at anything, you say, God can do it, we have the victory. That's right. Don't know how, don't know when, don't have the money, don't have the plan, don't have all the smarts. Wish I had more wisdom than I have, but here's what I know. If I know enough, it's this, that God can do it. Now in the text, Joseph has passed away. I told you that last week. But God was not done, and he multiplied his people even in the death of Joseph. And God is still prospering his people. And I want to show you what happens next in Exodus chapter 1, starting in verse 8. Now there was a new king over Egypt that did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. Now, you may know the story of the book of Exodus and of the people of God in this moment, that soon they will be in slavery to the Egyptians. But they're not slaves to the Egyptians. They're free people. They are more in number and in might than the Egyptians. And so those who are not living for God get scared and afraid of the people of God and how they're multiplying and how they're growing. And in their own insecurity, they attack out and they try to, as it says, deal shrewdly and put taskmasters over them to push them down. You ever been in that kind of work environment before? I have. Where you're doing well and you're good at what you do, but those who supervise you and are over you are threatened by what you bring to the table because they may not have those same gifts. Now, they have great gifts, and you're not cutting down their gifts. But they want to cut down your gifts intentionally or unintentionally because they're afraid of what you bring to the table might threaten what they bring to the table. They forgot that we're all the body. You ever been in that situation before? Because I believe it's where the church is right now. We're getting so strong and so mighty and built up in who God is. And so what's happening is there's getting taskmasters set up over us. The only thing is they're not the Egyptians. You know who they are? They're comparison. They're social media. They're buy more stuff, get more stuff, be richer, be more happy. These are some of your taskmasters. Do you not know? These are your tasks. You need to know who your taskmasters are so you know how they operate, so you know how you operate and how God operates through you. Because if you don't know that you have no taskmasters, soon you will be brought into slavery just like the people of God. And you think, oh no, I'm free. So were they. They were more free than we are free now. And soon they will not be. And we lived in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I love America. And I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about the devil. I'm not talking about what president and this president or that president. I'm not talking about none of that. You can talk about that if you want on your own time. What I'm talking about is, do you understand that the people of God are growing and that other people who are not in the kingdom of God are getting insecure about who they are, and they're seeing the goodness happening in you, and what they want to do is they want to kill it and crush it while it's weak and while it's small before it can grow up to be what it really is. So we got to open up our eyes and realize that social media, that comparison, that buy more, get more, that be this, that be them, that don't be ourselves, that work at this place or do that these things are taskmasters set up over us to cap us in our spiritual growth so that we do not reach our potential. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. As they set this up, they forgot what was going to happen. They didn't know the principles in the kingdom. Chapter 1 of Exodus, verse 12. But the more they oppressed them, the more they multiplied. And they spread abroad. The more they pressed them down, the more they rose up. The more they tried to crush, the more they spread out. The more they tried to put them down, the more spirit was rising up inside of them. It's the same way in the believers now. The fastest way, you know the fastest way to grow the church? Persecute it. Do I want that? No. I want to sit on my couch and I want to hang out and that's what I want. Snacks, remotes, feet. I want that. You want that. We all want that. I want to go to Cancun, Mexico. I want to go to Phoenix, Arizona. I want to go anywhere that's not. I want to go on vacation. I want to play golf. I want to walk around. I want to buy stuff. I want to look at things. Oh, yeah, I don't need that. How much is it? I'll buy it. Like, that's what I want. My son is 14 months old. What a great blessing. In the last 30 days, he turned more human than he has been before. This is my opinion. This is not the gospel truth, all right? We're pausing on gospel truth. I'm telling you my opinion. Babies, when they're little, they're not like they're humans. They're different. Just saying. If you've had one, you know that's why probably you're laughing. You're laughing because you don't know what to do. You're like, this is uncomfortable. He's saying what I actually think. Or because you know, you had one, and you're like, what is this? What do I do with it? As it grows up, you begin to understand. And at 14 months, like 30 days ago, he woke up with opinions. Before, no opinions. Now, opinions. And it's cute, and I'm loving it, and I'm enjoying all the stages. Don't hear me wrong. But he woke up and he started going, ball, grape, sweet potatoes, things like that. He can't say sweet potatoes. He started knowing what he wants and wanting it when he wants it. The thing is, this may be hard for you to believe, so hang on with me for a second. I'm going to put my knife back in my pocket just in case. This may be hard for you to believe. I'm smarter than he is. He thinks he knows what he wants, but I know what he needs. He knows that he wants to go outside, and I know that he ain't got no shoes on and it's 32, and it's not going to be no fun outside. Many times, we revert in our faith back to 14 months. And we start telling God, I want. And this was the symptom that happened with the people of God here in this text. They decided what they wanted was more important than saying, God, we're here for whatever you want. Their wants outran God's needs for their life. God's not our vending machine. He is not our magic genie. But he is our promise keeper. But how does he keep our promises? When we're running after all the things that we want. And running only back to him when what we tried over here didn't work out. And so now we're coming back here for a minute just for a quick pit stop so that we can go back to what we really want. And this was the people of God. Though he blessed them, and though they multiplied, and though they grew, and though he was faithful to them, and even after Joseph died, and even after a king who knew nothing about Joseph, and hundreds of years are beginning to pass, even when they get to this place, now he's beginning to still pour out his blessing, and they decide what they want is more important than what God wants for their life. And Father, do not let us in your church, in DFW, be like the people in Exodus chapter 1 and 2. Squabbling over what doesn't matter, making opinions about what doesn't have any kingdom impact, while before our very eyes, the enemy sets up taskmasters over each one of us to decide where we will go, how we will pay, where we will walk, what we will eat, while our hands and our feet get tied up by our own willingness because we'd rather sit than walk. What happened as the people of God multiplied is that the Egyptians and their leaders didn't like it. So they took more extreme measures. And they put out a law to murder and kill any of the newborn baby boys so that it would cut off a generation. And even as that happened, God made provision in the midst of generation that would be cut off. Exodus chapter 2, in the midst of the king calling for all the baby boys to be killed, there was a man of the house of Levi who took as his wife a Levite woman. And they had a beautiful wedding. They spent lots of money on it so that their accounts were drained after they came back from their honeymoon. But they ate well at that wedding. That's not what it says. I'm just playing around. He picked him a woman, and he got her. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw, the mom, that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months because the alternative was to turn him over for death. When she could hide him no longer, she took and she made a basket for him. And she put it in the riverbank. And she told the older sister, her daughter, to watch from a distance after the basket in the river as it floated down. Come on, Faith. Some of us won't put down our phones. And she took her baby son and put it in a basket and floated it down a river because she trusted that much. God did not come to her in some dream and tell her to do this. God did not come to her in some vision and say, here's what you got to do. On her own accord, she grabbed up what she knew and what she had because she said, my God can. And she did. She put together a basket. She trusted her basket enough to put her son in it and to float it down a river, and trusted her daughter enough to say, hey, go over and just watch it from a distance and watch it float down a river. And maybe God would do something great by it. Talk about my God can. And then in verse 5, the daughter of Pharaoh, this is the leader of the known world, his daughter came down to take a bath at the river. What timing? While her young woman walked beside her at the river. She saw the basket in the reeds, and she said to her servant woman to go and take it. When she opened it, she saw, behold, there was a child, and the baby was crying, and she took pity on him. Knowing that it was a boy, knowing that it was a Hebrew boy, knowing that it was of the people of God, knowing that 3-something months ago it should have been dead, but she took pity on it. And then the sister that was watching from a long ways off goes over to the princess who she has no business talking to, who has no idea that is her little brother. And she says, shall I call a nurse to nurse this baby for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said, yeah, go get a nurse. So the girl goes back to her mom and calls the mother of the baby to come nurse the baby, and they bring the baby back to her. Now, mama put the baby in a basket in a river, and now the baby is coming back. And I'm wondering this, what needs to go in a basket in a river out of your life so that it can come back in the way it's supposed to come back? Because it seemed like it's supposed to die, but you're hanging on to it for dear life. But what needs to happen is you need to say, I know God can do it. I'm turning it over. And if he'll bring it back, he'll bring it back. And if he'll bring it there, he'll bring it there. This is a baby we're putting in the basket. I'm just talking about your hopes. Your hopes are, in my opinion, are not worth the same as my child. You can get more hopes. You can get more opinions. Take those opinions, put them in a basket, send them down the river. Some don't need to come back, some might. So the woman, that's the baby's mama, took the child and nursed him. Oh, did I mention in verse 9? She's getting paid to do this. For 3 months, she was nursing for free because it's her baby. That was her duty. That was her responsibility. Now she turned it over, and now the enemy is paying her to nurse her own baby. Tell me God cannot do it. Tell me that he cannot do it. Tell me that he won't work. I'm being funny, but I'm being real. Tell me that he won't work something good in your life. And you're getting stressed out and worried and anxious, and you're like, I just don't know. And you're starting to grumble and complain. And the whole time, God is like, my eyes are going to and fro. They're looking for one. Can there be one that can believe that I can do something good? Can there be one that can believe that if you'll put it in a basket, can there be one believe that it will come back and I will pay you? I will pay you to do what you were already going to do. Praise God. There's things in my life I would have done for free. Happily. And people have paid me to do them. And I have thought, that's what I thought. Good thing I didn't tell them I would do it for free. They were about to say how much. I was going to say free. They said 500. I thought, let me think about it. Yeah, we can make that work. We can make that work. The enemy may be a hard word for you, maybe an easy word for you. I'm not sure which it is. But in this text, in this context, this is the right word. It is their enemies. They have lured them in to a position of slavery and mastering over their life. And now they're fully in it. They are slaves to the people that they should have been co-laborers next to. And now these people, the Egyptians have said, and we're taking all your babies and killing them. Oppression. And the enemies are paying this mother to nurse her baby. And in the midst of all the corruption happening, in the midst of all the slavery happening, in the midst of the fact that these godly people are being beaten and whipped to build statues for false gods, in the midst of all this stuff that's happening, there was one. There was at least one. There was at least one mama who would stand in the gap and say, you know what? Yeah, no. I'm going to hide my baby. I'm going to trust in my God, and you're going to pay me to do what's right. Then Moses grows up. He grows up in the palace. His mama brings him back there. She nurses him for a little while. The mom, his Egyptian mother, in verse 10, names him Moses because she drew him up out of the water. She didn't know what she was saying when she named him Moses. She didn't know the living water that would come out of him. She didn't know the Red Seas that he would part. She didn't know what his staff would do. She didn't know that that rock would split open and give water to hundreds of thousands of people who would drink in the desert. She didn't know. I was asked earlier by Zach, was it prophetic? I don't think it was prophetic because I don't think people who aren't of God can speak prophetically. But here's what I know. God returns his promises. And he can use a lost word or a found word to be for his purpose. I don't care which it is. He can use the same word that someone spoke bad about you and tried to cut you down to be the word that brings you up. He can bring a word from a good person or a bad person or the right person or the wrong person to be a word that propels your life forward. And that's exactly what happened in this text. But Moses made some choices that he didn't like. And then he decided to run from those choices. Grew up in a palace, didn't want to be there, and decided, I think, to run away from it all out into the desert. And even in his running away, God was still preparing a way for his people to come out of slavery. Even in Moses trying to run away from the pain of his people being in slavery and the fact that he was in a palace and he had to look from the palace and look out on people who should have been free and now they're captives. And he should have been part of that, but he's here with this. And he's like, why spare me? And all the emotions that went in, and he's adopted and he's this and he's that and he doesn't fit and everybody knows. And so finally one day he just runs from it all. And even in that moment, in Exodus chapter 2, verse 23, the king of Egypt passes away, and the people of Israel, they groan, it says, because of their slavery, and they cry out for help. And their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God. Do you know that? Do you know that your cry goes up to God? Out to God, however you want to say it. That your tears, that he sees them. That your hurts, that he knows them. That what you're in bondage to, he knows and he hears you cry out and he hears you say, God, fix it. God, move it. God, save them. God, help me. God, heal me. God, heal my son. God, heal my daughter. God, bring my loved one into the family. God, stop this foolishness that's happening. Stop this pain that's in my job. He hears your cry as you cry out, just as he heard the people of Israel who got themselves by their own foolishness into this predicament. And God, in verse 24, and God hearing their groaning, God remembered his covenant with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob. And God saw the people of Israel and God knew. What did he know? Everything. Exactly what he would do. Exactly how he will use Moses in the moments to come. Exactly what he will do in this oppressed people's lives to show them the real freedom in Jesus Christ. And that is the goodness. That he knew even in that moment what would happen for the next couple thousand years, and that he would send Jesus to die on a cross that we might know eternal life in its fullest. Because even as he raises up one of the greatest leaders of all time, Moses, even Moses is not enough to save God's people. He knew all of it. He knew the wrestles that you have right now. He sees and he knows. And his only hope for each one of us is that we would say, God can do it. When we say that, we open up our heart to to all the possibilities that God has for our life. We stop trying to run and make a way on our own. We stop trying to do it ourselves and be strong enough and tough enough and right enough and fast enough and smart enough. And we can just believe that God is enough.
Isn't our God good, man? I just want to give him praise and everything I got right now because he's so good. It is so awesome to get to worship with you guys. It is so awesome to get to praise God with you guys. And man, isn't our God faithful? Isn't he steadfast? Here's my encouragement to you in this moment right now. Remain steadfast. Keep on going. As you're viewing this online, be encouraged. Know that we are here. We are the church. Remain steadfast. The Lord will give you strength in everything that you will do. And remain steadfast in your giving. Maybe right now, it seems like, man, I can't give. I don't know if this is the perfect time for me to be able to give. But I want you to know, you remain steadfast. The Lord will always show up. The Lord always shows up, and he's always so faithful to you. So if you'd like to give, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can give by going to authentic.church and giving under the Give tab. Or you can give through Venmo. Hey, I love you. Can't wait to see you soon.